Welcome back to Hawkeye Skunk Works, and I think it's about time that we sit down and have a little chat. We are going to do something that has never been done before. The cheapest third-gen Toyota 4Runner in the entire country. Welcome back to Hawkeye Skunk Works, where I have bought another 4Runner. Seriously.
It just got deep.
Ruh-roh.
Dad, everything is blowing!
So, it's a little after 8 o'clock, and it's dark and we're in bed. Well, we finally got unstuck. That was a little ridiculous. A chat about why exactly I drank the Toyota Kool-Aid, and more specifically, why I bought this 4Runner. Several years ago, when I did the why I bought a Ford Explorer video, a lot of you really seemed to enjoy that, and it got a lot of good views. So I figure with ATR 2.5 weeks away, I have a lot of work to do, but it might be a good idea to sit down and kind of talk about the whole changing brands and why I bought this 4Runner. So there's my lens cap. I guess first off, most of you probably already know that a lot of my friends have Toyotas, Tacomas, and 4Runners. That's 100% my fault. That started like 3 years ago with Joe's red 4Runner, the one that's got the motor that's going in my 02. Joe and I went to go look at a Grand Cherokee for him, a WJ, and it was, to say it was a pile when we got there would be the understatement of the century. So we drove like an hour to go look at it. We were there for about 2 minutes and left. And he's like, hey, what about this 4Runner that a mutual friend of ours, his daughter's friend, whatever, was selling it? And I was like, duh, yes, of course you should buy that. So that is where it all started. And actually, the green one that Danny drives, I found that on Facebook as well. And then Joe went and got it and fixed it and then sold it to Danny. Last fall, we knew within the next year was going to be time to get another vehicle, a different vehicle. So we had gotten the camper. I knew I wanted something that was going to pull the camper that I could go off-road with, that we could take road trips with, that would take all the family. And so I was looking at a lot of different things. I was looking at other Explorers, I was looking at other Jeep products, I was looking at several Toyota products. My first elimination was the Jeeps, and I'll explain why. I have that WJ, which is a unibody. I also have a small trailer. Anytime that I tow anything with that unibody, you feel everything through the hitch. There's no body mounts to absorb any of it. So I wasn't going to get a Wrangler, a JL, or a JK. That just was out of the question, which eliminated all the other Jeeps, essentially. Commanders, WJs, WK1s, all of that. Just because I wanted something that was body on frame. So then I looked at 4th Gen Explorers, but it didn't make sense to do that again. I wanted something with some support behind it, a following. I looked at mid-2000s quad cab F-150s. I just wasn't feeling that. Torsion bar front suspension. I had a front axle that I could have sassed it. I could have solid axle swapped it. But, Expeditions, again, I looked at those. But all that stuff was just a little bit too big for what I wanted for off-roading purposes. Then we went to ATR. And that obviously kind of solidified it. You have aftermarket support, you have the following, there's a group behind Toyota. And so I was considering first gen Tundras, first gen Sequoias, 80 series, 100 series Land Cruisers, and 4th gen 4Runners. I like 3rd gens a lot, they just don't have enough power for what I wanted to pull. So came back from ATR, and that's kind of where things took off. So when I was down at ATR, obviously I got to see tons of Toyota stuff. And although we saw several really awesome first gen Sequoias and Tundras, what I had already kind of assumed with the F-150s and the Expeditions was the same case. They were just too big for what I was wanting to do. The space would be great, the towing would be great, but the mileage would not be super fantastic, the maneuverability off-road would not be awesome, and I'll be honest, anything that I was interested in, because I still looked, was out of my price range. So that's kind of where that was. So basically boiled down to 4th gen 4Runners. I had been originally looking for an 06 to 09 in either a V8 or a V6, honestly. I just wanted something that had lower-ish miles and that was in good shape, that didn't have rust on it. The more I looked, the more I didn't find any of that. So, upon further research, I realized that actually the 05 models and the V6s had the 5-speed transmission, not the 4-speed, and they had fixed they had like a head gasket issue, they had fixed that. So, and also the more I looked at them, the more I realized I actually preferred the 03 to 05 straight cut fenders. I didn't think I liked that at first, but the more I looked at them, I actually preferred that. So, at that point, I kind of narrowed my search down to 05 V6s. The 05 V6, 4th gen, had the most horsepower and the most torque out of the whole range. I don't know why. I'm sure that had to do with emissions or something, laws changing. I also eventually ended up deciding against the V8. The V8 is the all-wheel drive. It's selectable low. I don't know, I guess I'm old and I'm old school and I just like having a 2-wheel drive option. That's really what it boils down to. And the fuel economy is a little bit better, a little bit, I mean, depending on driving. It was the end of November, no, it was the end of October, and pretty much had narrowed down my vehicle search to an 05 4-liter 4th gen 4Runner. This 4Runner, this 05 4-liter, and this is all according to Google, so bear with me, and I looked in several different places online. Horsepower 245, torque 282, weighs about 4,300 pounds. Tire size, factory tire size is like, it's 265, 65, 17, so it's a 30-inch tire. 373 gears and a 5-speed transmission. My Explorer, for reference, because it was another V8 body-on-frame SUV that I pulled my camper with. 239 horsepower, so approximately, basically the same. 280 foot-pounds of torque, again, basically exactly the same. Factory tire size, 235 70/17. Those are 29-inch tires, and it would have been considerably lighter, so there would have been less rotating mass, would have been easier for that engine to turn over. And 373 gears, which is the same, and 5-speed transmission, again, exactly the same. And so I ended up running basically 31-inch tires on that and 31-inch tires on this. So that would have cut down my useful torque and horsepower considerably compared on the Explorer compared to this. Now if we want to just, for reference, my Bronco, because I did most of my towing on the camper with the Bronco, that had the 5.7 liter 351 Windsor with 205 horsepower when it was new, when it didn't have 300,000 miles on it. It did have 328 foot-pounds of torque on it, in it when it was new. It had, it weighed about 4,500 pounds. An Explorer weighed, I don't know if I mentioned, 4,300 pounds. So that we're all, depending on fuel and what you have, they're all really similar. It came with 29-inch tall tires from the factory. It also came with 29-inch tall tires, but it had 355 gears and a 4-speed transmission. And I was towing with 33 1250 E-rated tires, which was a ton of weight, so who knows what the actual useful power figures were on that. So essentially, long story short, I was more than confident that the 4-liter in this would be completely fine, especially knowing that I was going to re-gear this to gain any lost usable torque based on the larger tires. So let's go ahead and talk about why we bought this exact 4Runner. I actually had found this 4Runner on Facebook Marketplace a month or so before we actually bought it. Didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it because it was an 05 V6 and I was looking for an 06 or newer V8. Well, as you know from previous parts of the video, 05 4-liter is exactly what I ended up wanting. However, for like a week or so, I had looked at so many, they all started running together in my brain. I had thought that this was an 04. Well, once that finally all clicked and Mrs. HSW looked at it online, we decided we probably should go check that out and very likely buy it. So when we went to go look at it, of course it was evening and raining, when you should never buy a car. But I did bring a flashlight and I brought a creeper. I climbed underneath it to check for any extensive rust, and I checked the frame. We took it down the road 5-10 miles, and we both just fell in love with it. So it had lots of maintenance records with it, basically exactly 160,000 miles. The people who owned it had owned it for 10 years, I think, and it had taken very good care of it, had tons of maintenance records. So we ended up paying $6,600 for it and took it home, and we have had zero regrets. The money part, cars go for different values across the country, so whatever. But I can tell you is that since then, and even before then, we've found nothing that comes even close to what we were looking for in the 05 to 09 range in mileage, price, quality, because we looked for one for my dad. I'm still looking for them just because all the time, and we've considered and may still consider buying another one. So we feel like we got an extremely good deal on this. Took it home, put the Bronco up for sale. Actually, I put the Bronco to sale the night before we went and looked at this, and took 6 hours to sell, which paid for this. So that, can't argue with any of that. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the video and found all of that very interesting and helpful. I'm sure some of you did, because you're probably going through a lot of the same thought processes that I go through when I'm buying a new rig. So until next time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the thumbs up, and turn those notifications on, because I still have more videos coming before I take a couple weeks off and go to Tennessee and film a whole bunch more stuff. So follow the links down below, Instagram, Facebook, because obviously always posting stuff over there. And any comments or questions, drop those down below. Email me, hawkeyeskunkworks@gmail.com. I'm going to go finish another rock slider now. So until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.